Hey there everybody, Mazarok here, and today I'm discussing early gearing tips. So you just hit level 70, you do not want to spend a lot of gold. That is the purpose of this, because anybody can just spend, a couple million gold and get all the BOEs you want on the auction house. But no, this is early gearing tips for those that don't have a lot of gold. Maybe you just came back, you're kind of unsure on where to go. So we're going to go through some tips. Alright, before we do get into it though, please do like, comment, and subscribe. It goes such a long way towards helping out the channel. There is a Patreon link down below, which this is going to be early access for them as well. I already have 3 or 4 videos up on there that are slated to come out on YouTube in the next couple of days. So this one might be on YouTube in like a week or so. Who knows? So if you are after early access content, Patreon link down below. There is a Discord link, a Twitch link, and all of the fun stuff down there. Yeah, check it out. All right, early gearing tips. So you just hit level 70, and we're going to assume while leveling, you've got a small modicum of gold, right? Let's operate under the assumption of 20 to 30,000. And that's not completely out of the question. By the way, when you're leveling, all of those greens that you get, don't vendor them. Put them on the auction house. You will be surprised how much those things can be worth. I have leveled characters and ended up with 400 or 500k out of the leveling experience because I got really lucky, and some of the greens are highly sought after transmog items that are very, very rare drops, but you don't necessarily know that just from seeing the green item in your bag. So whenever you get a green item that you can sell, put it on the auction house. Trust me, it could be worth a couple gold, could be worth a lot more than what you think. So first little pre-tip for those, but that definitely is a thing. So the first thing you're going to want to do, let's say we're operating under the assumption you have around 20 to 30,000 gold. All right, it's a small amount, but we're going cheap in this guide, right? We're going cheap. Is actually crafting. Now, enchanted whelpling crescents will not cost you a lot of gold at all to make. They're very cheap to make. You can actually farm out a lot of the mats. And what those do, those allow the crafted gear that you may craft yourself, so you can join a blacksmithing, mining, leatherworking, or tailoring, whatever you're doing to whatever class you have. Farm out some mats, and you can make those at a relatively high item level, right? Once they're kind of all geared up, you can be around 400 to 408. Now, if you craft them max and you've actually got the skill in the crafting profession to be able to make that happen, yes, it'll be 408, but it might not be 408 for you right off the bat. But if you're coming at a leveling and you're only item level like 300, it's really actually not that bad to get some item level 370, 80, 90, 400 level gear just from some quick crafting and a small investment time in farming, because we're trying to not spend gold. The next one is actually the auction house, but not for the reasons you may think, right? Because yes, there's BOEs there, but remember when I mentioned those greens that you get while leveling? Well, greens drop everywhere, and the max level greens right now are like item level 379, and those include trinkets, which are some of the things that are going to hold your item level really down. And personally, like, I've been getting those trinket drops, and I'm selling them on the auction house for the highest amount that they can go, which is about 1,000 gold, 1,100 gold per, which is really, really cheap. And they're on the upgrade path, so you can upgrade them to be a higher quality piece of gear. But right now, this is just trying to acquire some item level as quickly as possible for you to get into the more farmable content. Normal raids, LFR is pretty easy to get into, but if you want to get into normal raids, you don't have to be super high item level to do that, right? Low Mythic Plus, which is really where you can start your farm without feeling like you're dying all the time. But look for those key pieces of upgrades in the auction house, and you know what? You might be surprised how cheap they can go, and they are on the upgrade path. Honestly, you could, for about 5,000 to 6,000 gold on the high end, you can get a full set of like item level 379, 360 greens and blues and a mixture of it, and that's being expensive because some of them sell for 50 gold, which is really, really cheap, but it's a really cheap way to get some item level really, really quickly, which can help you farm, because if you're a leather worker, you're going to be skinning, so you want to kill things as fast as possible, so that's a thing that you're going to have to worry about, right? But look for those key pieces. Don't necessarily look for the highest item level. Look for something within the range that's going to be an upgrade, And you might be surprised how inexpensive it actually is. After that, Zeralik Caverns has an entire quest line. Actually, before we get to the Zeralik Caverns, do the weeklies as many as you can. Make sure you've grabbed all the weeklies. Make sure you've grabbed your Aiding the Accord. Go do the feast. There's item level 402, 400, 408s that can drop out of those. Get your Loam quest done for the 1500 rep if you can. That you can pretty easily get done by doing the Zeralik Caverns quest line, which we'll talk in a bit. If you can find a group that's doing the siege, do the siege. Anything like that that's easy group content. Of course, there's still world bosses that's pretty easy to join and farm, and hopefully you get lucky. But do all of those weeklies. Make sure you got all of them going. After that, there is a weekly quest called Fighting is Its Own Reward. This will net you a piece of 415 item level loot for completing 5 heroic dungeons. That's all you have to do, and you get an item level 415 piece of loot. Also check the calendar, because it may be time walking week, which will net you 1 piece of normal raid loot. And if it's Mythic Plus week, you can get this done on Mythic Zeros or Mythic Plus, whatever it is you choose. But this will net you a piece of heroic raid loot if it is that week. Now, it is Monday, June 12th as I am recording this, so that is currently what the week is. But check the calendar and make sure you grab and get the quest to do that. And like I said, item level 415, Fighting its Own Reward. If you just hit level 70, this is something that you should absolutely be doing. It is world content gear, but there's, gear is gear, item level is item level, get what you can and as much of it. Another thing that you can do as well is, this is a little bit more obscure, okay. Zeralik Caverns. Try to do the main quest line as far as you can. While the early quest and the beginner stages of the quest are going to be lower item level green and blues, they quickly start becoming blues. The later portions of that quest line are higher purple item level and are worth doing if you can, because why not, right? It is nice to be able to kind of get those as you can, and this is something that for the most part you can solo at a slightly okay level. That you're gonna want to make sure in some areas you're not pulling too many mobs, but that's something you might have to worry about. You might have to kind of work in after the fact, right? Another thing is, like I said, a little bit more obscure, Forbidden Reach. Get yourself an Onyx Amulet. Now, if you have a main already, go to the Forbidden Reach on your higher item level main, farm the Zeralik, the Cavern keys, whatever, I can't remember the name of them right now. Farm yourself up some keys. Farm yourself up some primalist loot caches. So on those, and there are groups doing this, you can queue for this. There's not a whole lot of it going on, but it is some. The item level that drops out of there is 385, and that is all account bound. So whatever vault keys you get, and whatever primalist loot caches you get, you can send to the alt that you're trying to gear. If you are, if this is your main and you're just trying to get item level quickly, find a group, farm the rares, go get your Onyx Amulet. Now, when you have your amulet, you can actually have crafted unstable elementium. You will need 6 of these, and the reason why is you can upgrade the stones in that amulet twice each to make that ring 424. And while once you get a lot of gear and you're looking at higher end game content, that amulet might not be good for your spec. It might be. It's still good for all 6 tank specs. Then you can worry about replacing it, but it is, for very little investment, an item level 424 gear, that piece of gear that does help, right? Whether you're a healer, a tank, DPS, whatever, it's something, and something is better than nothing. That way you can kind of help farm out what you need, so you do have the Forbidden Reach at your disposal, which I would advise being group content, right? So let's go over the little bit of this event. You can craft some gear or have crafted some gear. I would recommend trying to make it's relatively cheap, but if you're trying to do this yourself, get the professions that you need for your respective spec, farm out some stuff, and kind of make it yourself. You'll get the points in that you want along the way anyway. But have made by an enchanter enchanted Whelpling crest for that crafted gear, which is going to bump that up. Check the auction house for insanely cheap sources of gear as well. This is something you can do right off the bat. You have the world bosses. You have the quest that I had mentioned, of course. All of the weeklies, do not forget those, because those can drop some pretty decent pieces of gear. Zerlik Cavern's quest line is really good, and then lastly, Forbidden Reach. But after you kind of do all of that in the course of a week, you should be starting to get there. LFR is also a pretty decent source of gear if you can get lucky on rolls, and if your group has the IQ to be able to finish it. I've been on it on my Evoker this week, and I'm questioning my sanity at times. But those are some good tips for you to get quick item level to get into Mythic Plus at, a respectable item level for what you're trying to do, which it's maybe you're 2 or 3s, maybe you're a little bit higher than that, whatever. Get into a normal raid, get into that. But that gap, I feel, has always been missing. A lot of times when people say, hey, how do I get gear quickly? Oh, go to normal raid. Well, I'm item level 330. What do? That's what you do. Get your Onyx Amulet. Check the auction house. Craft some gear. Have some gear crafted. And there are cheap ways to do this. Like I had said, the Enchanted Whelpling Crests are a really cheap way to get some quick gear cheap. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Have yourself a good one. Happy tanking. Bye.